a specific room in a real house. And for nearly 2 centuries, people have only whispered about it in, well, tones of just absolute terror.
Right, a room that sounds almost malevolent.
Exactly. So bad that just stepping inside was like testing the absolute limits of your sanity.
Where just being curious could cost you everything. Your life, even.
For almost 200 years, this story is held on. Room 50, Berkeley Square. What is it about one single room that creates such lasting horror?
Well, it's a fascinating question, isn't it? It touches on something really deep in us, I think. That mix of being drawn to the unknown, but also terrified by it. So today, we're not just, telling another ghost story. We're really diving deep into a specific historical account about this infamous room.
Trying to figure out why this space became such a lightning rod for fear.
Yeah, and what maybe this old legend can tell us about, well, ourselves.
Okay, let's get into it. The setting, London, 1840, Berkeley Square. An address that, just screams wealth, respectability.
Prime real estate, even back then.
Totally. But right there, at number 50, a very different kind of reputation was taking hold. And it was all focused on one room, second floor.
And enter our protagonist. Maybe victim is a better word.
Perhaps. Sir Robert Warboys. He's 30, British nobleman, and from everything we read, a guy who really liked to push the limits.
Reckless is the word that comes up. Brave, maybe, but definitely reckless.
It's quite a contrast, isn't it? You've got this very proper, elegant square.
And then the rumored chaos inside this one room.
And Sir Robert, this man of high society, apparently craving danger.
It does make you wonder, was he just after a thrill? Or did he think he had something to prove by going into this, forbidden zone?
Well, the reason, or the stated reason anyway, was pure bravado. A dare.
The classic dare.
Exactly. The whispers around London were pretty chilling. Spend one night in that second floor room and you risk going mad. Or worse.
It had this reputation then, properly cursed.
Utterly. So naturally, Robert's friends saw their chance. Test his famous nerve. One night. Room 50. Alone. That was the challenge.
And how did he react?
With a smirk, apparently.
Yeah.
And he decided to take a pistol with him.
Okay, a pistol. That tells you something. He wasn't going in expecting just shadows and whispers. He was ready for something tangible.
Right. He expected a real fight, not just a spooky feeling.
He's confronting it head on. Or thinks he is.
But even the homeowner, this guy Charles Benson, seemed genuinely freaked out by the whole thing. The account says he was nervous, pale even, giving Robert a final warning.
What did he say?
He told him, really stressed it, to use the servant bell if anything happened. There was this red ribbon, apparently, connected to a pole above the bed.
A direct line out.
Yeah. And Benson's last words were basically, don't try to be a hero.
Wow. Don't try to be a hero. What do you make of that specific warning?
It's weirdly specific, isn't it? Maybe previous people had tried to fight whatever was in there.
It suggests Benson really believed something dangerous was in there. Something that wasn't just a ghost. Something you could foolishly try to confront, implying a bad history.
It really does. So, 10 p.m. The moment arrives. The door to room 50 creaks open. Robert steps in.
And locks it behind him.
Yeah, that heavy thud of the lock, sealing him in. You can just imagine that sound echoing.
Talk about building suspense. He's committed now, isolated, cut off.
Completely at the mercy of whatever's waiting for him.
So what's the room actually like? You'd expect cobwebs and gloom, right?
Well, that's the surprising part. The description makes it sound quite elegant, actually. Carved mahogany bed, nice velvet armchair, a big, tall mirror.
Almost inviting?
Almost. Except for one detail. That single red ribbon hanging down from a brass bell pulled right above the bed.
There it is, the escape button.
Yeah, like a bright splash of color in this otherwise quite refined room, like a constant reminder. Danger's here, even if it looks nice.
That contrast is really effective, isn't it? Elegance and this panic button right there. Fear hiding in plain sight.
It is. And Robert at first seems totally unfazed. He's described chuckling to himself, pacing around, almost mocking the whole idea of ghosts.
Trying to convince himself, maybe?
Could be. He lights a single candle, Puts his pistol nearby, easy reach.
Right, the pistol again, his security blanket.
And even pours himself a glass of brandy, like he's settling in for a boring night watch.
Total bravado. A classic defense, really.
Yeah.
Dismiss the fear outwardly.
But the mood starts to change. The clock ticks past midnight.
Of course it does, midnight.
And the air gets colder, noticeably colder. The candle flame starts to, flicker, jump around.
Okay, the classic signs. Things are starting to get weird. The subtle stuff first.
Exactly. It's like his confidence is slowly being chipped away. Maybe those legends aren't just stories.
That slow burn is effective.
And then, the first definite sign, he might not be alone. A soft creak behind him, like scoreboard settling underweight. He spins around, pistol up now, scanning the shadows. Nothing. Absolutely nothing there.
So was it just the house settling or something else? That ambiguity is key, isn't it?
It is. Because your mind immediately goes to the worst possibility in that context.
Yeah.
And the fact he grabbed the gun shows his skepticism is cracking.
Definitely rattled now.
And the weirdness ramps up. That tall mirror, the one that probably reflected his confident smirk earlier.
Yeah.
It starts to fog up. And the account is specific here from the inside.
Whoa. Not his breath.
Nope. Not damp air from within the glass itself. That's properly creepy.
That is deeply unsettling. A mirror reflecting something inside itself that messes with your reality.
Totally. And then the sound comes. The one that would just freeze your blood. A whisper. Really low, guttural. And the description is chilling. Inhuman.
Inhuman. Not just faint, but wrong.
Exactly. Not words. Just this raw, awful sound. Robert's reaction. Pure primal fear.
I bet.
His breath catches. He starts backing away instinctively. Reaching for that red ribbon.
The bell pull. His lifeline.
But he freezes, just paralyzed by terror.
That shift from subtle stuff to a direct, inhuman sound is terrifying. All the bravado gone in an instant. He just wants out.
And that's the moment it hits the peak. From the darkest corner, under that fancy mahogany bed.
Oh no, under the bed. Really?
Yeah. A figure starts to crawl out. The description is kind of fragmented, like seen through sheer panic, but it's clear. Something totally unnatural is coming out.
That's pure nightmare fuel. The thing under the bed. Primal fear, right there. The hidden becoming visible.
And what comes out, the description is just horrific. Not human, it stresses that.
What does it look like?
Limbs are too long, twisted somehow. Fundamentally wrong. The face, what should be a face, is also just wrong.
Wrong how?
No eyes, just dark, sunken holes, and the mouth is stretched open like it's permanently screaming, but silently.
Oh God, wow! Just imagining seeing that, the eyelessness, the silent scream, pure terror fuel.
And the way it moves apparently makes it worse. Spider-like, jerky, unnaturally fast.
Violating how things should move, alien. Predatory.
Robert just reacts. A raw scream rips out of him and he yanks, violently yanks on that red ribbon.
The bell. He finally pulls it. The last resort. Complete surrender to the horror.
Downstairs, it's instant chaos. The bell starts ringing like crazy. Benson and the others, they leap up. They know what that frantic ringing means.
Pure panic downstairs too, then.
Absolutely. But then, cutting right through the bell's ringing, another sound. A single scream. Blood-curdling. Robert's scream.
Oh, man.
Followed immediately by the sharp crack of a gunshot.
The bell, the scream, the shot, that sequence.
Yeah.
It tells a story in seconds, doesn't it? Desperate plea, utter terror then. Finality, violence.
It's terrifying. It suggests such a rapid, violent escalation happening up there.
Those downstairs must have been frozen with dread.
They bolt up the stairs. Benson's fumbling with the key, hands shaking. They get to the door, and just as they do, the bell stops ringing. Abruptly.
Silence after all that noise. Eerie.
They finally get the door open, burst in, and the sight, the account says the sight was so horrific that two of the men there actually threw up on the spot.
Vomited. That level of visceral horror. It wasn't just gore then. It must have been something profoundly disturbing.
Unimaginable, right? And there, in the middle of it all, is Robert. Dead. How? The gunshot. Yes, but weirdly, his own pistol is beside him. It was fired once, straight into the tall mirror.
Into the mirror, not at whatever came out from under the bed.
Apparently not. But the bullet didn't just shatter the glass. It ricocheted off the mirror and hit him in the skull.
Ricocheted. Wow. A truly bizarre, tragic way to go. Was he shooting at a reflection, just lashing out in blind panic? So many questions.
Exactly. But it was his face that really stuck with the witnesses, eyes wide open, locked in this expression of just absolute, undiluted terror.
Like he saw something truly unspeakable in his last moments.
And his mouth was stretched open in that silent scream, just like the description of the thing he supposedly saw.
Oh, that's chilling. The mirroring of the expression.
You get this. Clutched tight in his hand was a chunk of his own hair, ripped out by the roots.
Torn his own hair out, the sheer panic, the desperation, that detail says so much, more than any accident report could.
Absolutely. It completely undermines any simple explanation. It points to this violent, terrifying struggle against something that just broke him.
And the room itself. Any sign of this entity.
That's the really baffling part. Nothing. No sign of anyone else being there. Windows locked tight from the inside.
A locked room mystery.
No footprints, no disturbance, no blood except Robert's. It's like whatever happened, it just existed within those four walls and then vanished.
Classic supernatural trope, right? Eliminates all the logical explanations, leaves you with the impossible.
The official report, maybe not surprisingly, just called it a tragic accident. Misfire of the pistol, case closed.
But the people who were there, Benson, the others.
They knew better. They heard the bell, that awful scream, they saw his face. They knew it wasn't just an accident.
That gap between the official story and what people experienced, that's where the legend lives, isn't it?
Definitely. And the room. Understandably, it was sealed up. Permanently. Boarded off.
Locked away, but the story wasn't.
Not at all. The story didn't end there.
Yeah.
Number 50 stood empty for years. Locals avoided it, gave it a wide berth.
I bet.
And people started whispering about seeing things. Flickering candlelight in that specific second floor window, even though no one lived there.
Uh-huh. Lingering signs.
And others claimed they heard sounds, faint scratching sounds from inside the sealed room, like fingernails on wood.
Ugh. That just adds another layer of creepy, doesn't it? The idea that something is still in there, trying to get out, or just existing.
It really does. It suggests that whatever happened that night left. Like a stain, an echo. Something stayed behind.
Feeding the legend, keeping it alive.
And so the account basically concludes, we still don't really know what happened that night. The true events, still a mystery.
All that's left is the unsettling reputation of Room 50 and that big question mark hanging over it. What or who is still inside?
The not knowing is almost worse, isn't it? Your imagination runs wild.
Absolutely. The lack of a neat explanation is what gives stories like this their power. It lets the fear grow in the gaps.
Now look, if you're listening and thinking, okay, great spooky story, but just a story, remember this part. Number 50 Berkeley Square. It's a real place.
That room exists, still there today.
And historical records. They actually do confirm that a nobleman died there, mysteriously, back in the 1800s, after spending a night in the house.
It adds a bit of weight, doesn't it?
It really does. That kernel of truth grounds it. Takes it beyond simple folklore and makes you think, maybe, just maybe.
So what's the final verdict? Was it just a terrible accident, like the report said?
Or did sheer terror, maybe madness, overcome Sir Robert in that room?
Or was it something else, something truly other, something that crawled out from under the bed and just defied all understanding?
The answer, yeah, it seems like it's still locked away inside room 50.
Ultimately, this deep dive, it's about more than just one haunted house, right?
I think so. It's about how powerful fear is, how stories shape how we see the unknown, and that maybe slightly chilling possibility that some places, they hold on to their secrets. They don't let go. Well, until our next deep dive, maybe. Yeah. Maybe think twice before taking a dare involving an old room with a reputation.
Yeah, might be wise.
Lock your doors tonight. Maybe leave a small light on. You just never know these stories the walls around you might remember.
Because sometimes history doesn't just fade away. Sometimes it waits in the shadows.